What's going on, everyone? We are back and just in time for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. And as usual, I have got my weekly game picks outright on the spread, along with some locks out of the bunch. So let's get right into what should be a great weekend of NFL matchups. Kicking things off on Saturday, we start with the Indianapolis Colts at the Kansas City Chiefs in what I believe will be the marquee matchup of the weekend for two reasons. One is the high-octane offenses that we have involved, and two is the upset opportunity and realistic one at that the Colts have to beat the Chiefs. Now, even though Kansas City might be favored on the spread at -5.5, I really like some of the individual matchup advantages that the Colts have. Let's start with the quarterback position. On one side, we have got Andrew Luck healthy, back to form, going up against the soon-to-be-named NFL MVP in Patrick Mahomes. And on paper, I think a lot of people probably will go ahead and pick Mahomes because from start to finish, he has had the better season. But in a one-game vacuum, actually give me Andrew Luck, and here's my reason why. Passing-wise, rushing ability-wise, I think it's very close. So the distinct advantage for Andrew Luck, the way that I see it, is playoff experience. We saw it last weekend for a lot of these first-time NFL playoff quarterbacks. They really struggled, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see that from Patrick Mahomes, even though it might be brief. I just don't think the Chiefs' defense is the type that allows a lot of room for error for the Chiefs offensively. So keep that in mind. For that reason, I like Andrew Luck there. Pass catching wise, look, the names to know: T.Y. Hilton, Tyreek Hill. I do think the Chiefs have a little bit more home run ability, so I give them a little bit of an edge there, but it's not by much. Tight end wise, Eric Ebron has been a stud all year, but let's not make any mistakes about it. Travis Kelce is one of the elite tight ends in the league, so advantage Chiefs there. Then running back abilities, I really like what Damian Williams has done of late. You know, Marlon Mack, he is somewhat hot and cold. Obviously had a great week last week, but right now, I do think Damian Williams has been a little bit more consistent, and the trio of guys they have there for Kansas City, I think all those guys individually are very capable of handling the load if anything happens, so slight advantage to Kansas City. But where I think the big advantage the Colts have here is obviously the offensive line, a big reason why Andrew Luck has not really been hit too much all year, and a big reason why the Colts were victorious last week because that line completely neutralized J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. So for that reason, advantage Colts there. Then defenses, because when talking defenses, it's not pretty for the Kansas City Chiefs. That has been their Achilles heel all year. Now reports coming out, Eric Berry potentially going to miss this game. Honestly, I don't think that'll be that big of an issue. The Chiefs have played without him for the majority of the season. But again, this is an area similar to the offensive line where I think the Colts have the huge advantage. And that could be very important, especially traveling on the road in this type of environment. Obviously, look, the Chiefs are going to have the home field advantage, that crowd behind them. That's always going to be nice, but I do think the Colts have the advantage in the most important areas: quarterback position, offensive line, and then defensive performance. For that reason, I'm actually going to be one of the people to take the Colts to upset the Chiefs. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it'll be close. I see it somewhere in the realms of 30-27 with the Colts winning. I will say this. What could potentially play a factor here? I have seen some reports about, snowy weather. That'll be interesting to watch. Makes this game even that much more entertaining. As far as the spread goes, since I do like the Colts to upset the Chiefs, to me the spread is a moot point. Even though the Chiefs might be favored at -5.5, give me the Colts there. Next, looking at our Saturday night game, we've got the Dallas Cowboys at the LA Rams. The Cowboys getting here by beating Seattle behind a nice performance from Zeke, some very timely runs from Dak, and then some great performances defensively to shut down the Seattle rushing attack. They face the Rams, who are coming off the bye week, getting a little bit more healthy. Gurley set to return, and even though C.J. Anderson had a nice span of games, I do think it was versus some subpar defenses. So Gurley's return, no question, is going to be welcomed. And in a scenario where Gurley might struggle, whether it's because that Dallas defense just focuses in on him or whether he's a little bit rusty, I do think the Rams offensively have enough offensive playmakers to make up for any type of struggles connected to that. As far as the key to this game, I will say this. I've heard a lot of talks as far as what really will be the focus point, what will be the deciding factor. It's centered from things like the rushing attack, whether it's Zeke or Gurley, who has the better day. Look, to me, I think both these guys are just so elite that both will get theirs. The one thing I will say is that I hope that at this point in time, the Cowboys don't change anything up, because for them the formula is simple. The way Zeke goes is the way that offense goes. If Zeke has a good day, they're going to have their opportunity. But if for some reason they abandon the run like they tended to do so early on in the season, things might get dicey for them. Then another point of discussion I've heard is the LA Rams defense. Look, without a question, they have been underperforming considering the names that they have on that defense. But the thing is, look, they've gotten to this point in time with that same defense and that same performance for the majority of the season. And what they are right now is the number 2 seed in the NFC and a hell of a good team still. I still think Aaron Donald is going to get his, and I think he's going to make enough plays to disrupt Dak Prescott. And even if the LA Rams give up some points, I don't think it's going to be anything more than usual. So I'm not too worried about that. What I think this comes down to, as simple as it may sound, is quarterback play. Look, Dak Prescott has looked good as of late. Jared Goff has struggled a little bit finishing off the season, so a lot of people raising some eyebrows there, and a reason why a lot of people are really thinking the Dallas Cowboys have a chance in this game. But I will say this, to me, both these quarterbacks are average. I don't think they're at the elite level yet, and just the way that we've seen Jared Goff struggle, we've seen Dak Prescott struggle, especially towards the start of the season. I don't think just Amari Cooper will be enough in this game as far as pass catching abilities for the Dallas Cowboys, because I think the Rams have more pass catchers and more threats offensively with Woods and with Brendan Cooks. So I think that'll be really interesting. As far as guys in the quarterback position that make more mistakes, I do think Dak Prescott tends to take a little bit more sacks. Obviously, he's got a great offensive line, but the Rams have a pretty good offensive line as well. So I think that's close to a wash. So the deciding factor for me here is actually coaching. And I do think Sean McVay has the distinct advantage here. I think he will be able to adjust accordingly, whatever the Dallas Cowboys throw at him. If Jared Goff struggles, I think he will be able to go ahead and make enough audibles in his game plan to give success to the LA Rams and ultimately give them the win. I just think offensively, the tandem of Jared Goff and Sean McVay is one that I have more faith in than Jason Garrett and Dak Prescott. So give me the Rams to win this game. I like them outright. On the spread, the Rams favored by -7. I will say a little bit too high for me. I could see the Dallas Cowboys, especially if Zeke has a really great game, to make this a little bit closer, maybe by 5 or 4 points. So I'm actually going to take the Dallas Cowboys on the spread. Next, looking at our Sunday games, we start with the LA Chargers at the New England Patriots. The Chargers getting here by beating the Baltimore Ravens, a game where they pretty much dominated for 3.5 quarters up until the wheels almost falling off, where Lamar Jackson almost had a comeback, but ultimately too many turnovers from him, and the Chargers defensively capitalized on them and got the victory. But their prize, unfortunately, now is having to travel to Foxborough, where the Patriots are undefeated there. And look, as good as the Chargers have been, and they've been really good offensively, Phillip Rivers, MVP candidate. Keenan Allen still doing Keenan Allen things. Melvin Gordon really broke through this year in a big way. And then also Hunter Henry getting activated this game. Will he be more so of a decoy, or will he be a factor in this game? Those are all interesting things. But again, the big but to me is when it comes to playoff time, the Patriots show up. And as much as they have struggled, I think Tom Brady puts forward a complete game. I think James White, Stephen Ridley, Julian Edelman will all have good games. But what I think will be the difference maker for the Patriots, and this is at this point in time a bold prediction, but Gronk finally shows up and does Gronk things. It's sad to say that that has to be a bold prediction, but there's no way around it. He just had a very disappointing season. I don't know whether it was because he was hurt, maybe age catching up to him. We will see, but I think in this one game in the playoffs, Gronk will be featured and he will be a factor. To me, I think this will be a game that will be very similar in terms of game style, game performance, and result in terms of what we saw in Kansas City versus New England. I think it has very high scoring potential. I think it could be very back and forth, but ultimately Tom Brady at home ekes out the victory and gets the Patriots to another AFC championship game. What I will say here, however, is this is a game that I could be convinced into going either way, whether it's the Chargers or the Patriots. I think both teams are very capable of winning this game. And I will say I think the Chargers, if they win this game, they have a better shot of getting to the Super Bowl than the Patriots do. But for now, I'm going with the Patriots. Home field advantage. Tom Brady, just so much experience here. He knows how to get it done. Bill Belichick, a little bit more of an experienced head coach. than what the Chargers have. Give me the Patriots to win in what should be a tight, high-scoring game. The spread -4 in favor of the New England Patriots. I'm actually going to hedge my bets here again. Similar to what we did last week, I'm going to take the LA Chargers. I think it'll be a very close game. I think the Chargers, if they lose, it'll be right by around 3 or 2 points. So Patriots outright, but the Chargers on the spread. And finally, our last Sunday game, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles at the New Orleans Saints. The Eagles getting here in the most dramatic way possible. A missed field goal by the Bears and Cody Parkey, a double doink of all things. And if you're a Bears fan, my heart goes out for you because this is going to be a loss that stays with you for a while. And if you're an Eagles fan, you're probably still riding that high and hoping the magic continues. But the big question is, will it? Will St. Nick be able to do it again versus what I see as the favorite to go to the Super Bowl for the NFC in the New Orleans Saints? And right now, my initial reaction, and I feel pretty strongly about it, is no. I think the Saints win this game and they win it convincingly yet again. Obviously, the first time these two teams met in the regular season, it was a blowout, embarrassing loss for the Eagles. They did have Carson Wentz starting back then. Obviously, Nick Foles has been inserted in the lineup due to injury since that point in time, so we will see some differences, but again, I think that we're going to see a double-digit margin of victory for the Saints, and it starts with Drew Brees because he's been setting records left and right. He's still got Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Michael Thomas. All those guys are studs, and the entire show is ran by Sean Payton, who is as good as it gets as far as offensive minds go. Their defense, it's good as well. It hasn't really been giving up too many points. But the biggest factor that I haven't mentioned here at all yet is the home field advantage. To me, there is no better home field advantage in the NFL than what the Saints have inside that dome. That's where Drew Brees puts up those MVP type numbers year in and year out. Their offense there is almost unstoppable, and I think that'll be the case here. As good of a story as the Eagles have been, I think it ends here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something in the realms of like 30-17. I'm picking the New Orleans Saints here outright. I think this is a game where you don't overthink too much. It's great having the Eagles here. They probably shouldn't have won that game last week, but they did. We'll see what happens here. If they win this game somehow, kudos to them. And I'm never picking against St. Nick after that. But for now, I'm picking the New Orleans Saints outright on the spread -8. I think that's a little bit too low for the Saints. I think they should be right around -10 at least. So I'm taking the over on the spread. I'm taking New Orleans outright and on the points. And with that, we finish up our pick'em games, and hopefully we can duplicate some of the success we had last week, especially on the spread where we were 4-0. But for now, looking at our locks of the week, we start with the New Orleans Saints and the Philadelphia Eagles. And I want to start with this game specifically because it's the one I feel most comfortable with. I think the Saints win this game, no questions asked. At home, New Orleans, Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Sean Payton, they get the job done. They beat Nick Foles by at least double digits. And we're going to be talking about them potentially as Super Bowl champions. That's how good I think they are. And it starts with a win here. And then a second game, if I had to pick one, albeit a game that I feel a lot less comfortable with, but I'm going with the Rams and the Dallas Cowboys because I do think those AFC games that we have are very close and very close to call with that high scoring potential in both of them. So I'm going to stay away from them. Instead, I'm picking the LA Rams to beat the Dallas Cowboys. I think Jared Goff, Sean McVay, Todd Gurley, Woods, and Cooks, I think that combination of guys will be able to do more things offensively than what the Dallas Cowboys have. And when it's crunch time, I think the Rams will make some defensive stops. So all in all, I like the Rams to win that matchup. And with that, we finish up our locks of the week as well. So as always, let me know what you guys thought. Did you agree, disagree? Let me hear it if you have any questions in the comments section as well. And as usual, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in future videos.